The women in other races, they understand the value of playing the game. If they want to win, they have to ensure their men win as well. It's only black women who seem to want to degrade their men, emasculate their men, feminize their men, completely coddle and in effect castrate their own men mentally and emotionally, but then are shocked when these men are not able to perform. Hey, this is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Thanks so much for everyone who's tuning in. To all of you wonderful new subscribers and returning friends, welcome. If you are new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, so when I get to run this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. You see the title, you know what time it is. Why female YouTubers in the black sector of YouTube turn my stomach. Now, this is a very inflammatory title. I don't even know where this is going to go. I'm already anticipating the flying monkeys, the harpies that come over to defend the honor of their leaders. Mein Führer. But in the wake of the whole Chrissie, Christelyn, Cyn G, I don't know why all these women's names begin with C. I'm so happy my name doesn't begin with C. In the whole controversy, I've just been looking at a lot of videos recently, kind of reacting to this whole online beef. Originally when it happened, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Part of it was, you know, chickens have come home to roost. I'm not very surprised. I'm kind of surprised at how much these women are surprised. But let's just be honest. These women, you're talking about your Chrissies, your Paris, your Christelyn, and your Cyn Gs, and to an extent even maybe Nyla. You know, these women, not necessarily Nyla because of contempt for black men, but the fact that she's supportive of content creators who are constantly dragging black men's names through the dirt. I've seen a number of people giving their opinion on the matter, and a lot of people have made some valid points, but really and truly, you know, I can't support female content creators and I find them so frustrating. At the end of the day, my biggest gripe is for somebody like Cynthia G. She constantly tries to insinuate that she cares about black men, that she loves black men, that she actually would like to see them maybe do better, but she just can't help the fact that she has to break down the psychology of the dusty. And this wasn't where I wanted to go first, but let me just say this. Any female black content creator online, or whether even if they're going mainstream, who never holds black women accountable for the part that they play in the demise of some black men, they are not to be taken seriously, in my opinion. I know Cynthia G tries to insinuate that she differentiates between black men, but the reality is this. It seems as though if you don't agree with what she's saying, you are automatically classified as a dusty, even when you are putting forth a logical argument or a counter to her argument. So as much as you may say that you're not talking about all black men, the way the narrative comes across, it's pretty much all, if not most, black men. And the thing about it is this: when a woman's mind, for example, is set up against black men, her default setting is, oh, here is another dusty trying to tell me something. Even if that black man is making a sound and logical argument, the mere fact that he is a black man trying to tell this woman anything automatically is going to be perceived as a dusty trying to correct a queen. And it's like, the arguments are so convoluted. I was recently having a conversation and I'm like, at the end of the day, I personally feel that Cynthia G just is attracted to broken men. She likes broken men. She likes dating guys who are maybe thugs And she uses this whole "I'm trying to break down the psychology of the dusty" as a cover up for the fact that she is just drawn to these type of men. Now maybe on a cognitive level she understands that these kind of men cannot build a society, they cannot provide or protect, they are effeminate in their being, in their core. Okay, they come across as hyper masculine, but hyper masculine behavior is actually effeminate behavior. And instead of being able to just admit that these are the kind of men I'm attracted to, this is what I want, and I'm willing to deal with the consequences, like a lot of black women out here, they want the bad boy, they want the thug, they want the guy who's in the street, but they don't want the bits that come with that are negative and detrimental to the things that they would like in terms of a lifestyle. They want the exciting bits, they want the thrills, but they don't want the real world consequences. And so Cynthia G maybe has some type of cognitive dissonance where she knows deep down getting with certain dudes does not lead to a productive life. But unfortunately, that's what she's attracted to. And it's been noted already that Chrissie is somebody who has previously said she was attracted to thugs. Now, I get it. Thugs are exciting. Women struggle with monotony. They struggle with a day-to-day existence that is mundane and repetitive. And so, of course, thugs, bad boys, D-boys, guys in the street, they add an element of risk. They add an element of maybe intrigue because they're less easily to be controlled. They add an element of danger, which makes their existence exciting. But once the novelty of that relationship wears off, real world lifetime consequences come into play. If you are dealing with a guy who's in the streets, there is a chance that you could be arrested, that you may end up being dragged into various forms of criminal behavior. You know, people say, well, these thugs, they are aggressive and they will protect their lady. But in my personal opinion, a lot of them are only protecting their woman up until the point where it's beneficial for them to protect her. Once she is of no benefit, she also will become collateral damage in this situation. Now, before I go into some of the things that I would like to hear these female content creators say, I just want to say Chrissie kind of challenged some of the things that Cynthia G has said. She basically gave a response to the fact that Cynthia G commented on how many years Chrissie has allegedly been engaged, but has not allegedly gotten married. And I believe at one point Chrissie actually said the engagement was off and she was moving on and she wanted to find herself and do other things. So I'm not sure if Chrissie is actually still engaged. But she said that she was, and she would rather wait years and actually marry knowing that she was sure this was the right person she wanted to marry, rather than, potentially get connected to a dusty. And she made reference to this whole situation where allegedly Cynthia G is, one of the baby mamas of Robert Perkins, another YouTuber who's considered to be a dusty dude. Now, she actually, in my opinion, Chrissie did not confirm that Cynthia G actually has Robert Perkins' child. All she, as far as I could understand, said was, I have heard the rumors about you, Cynthia G, but I chose not to address them. I didn't speak on your personal life or your personal situation. And she also made reference to the rumors or the belief or the information that has come out that people like Taz and Nyla may be scammers and they dox people. I think by now that one is commonly known as well. And when Chrissie gave her rebuttal, I'll say what I felt, that she almost sounded human. It was nice to hear her talk about something that wasn't bashing black men for a change. And unfortunately, Chrissie didn't understand maybe that snakes can be cannibalistic. When you lie with dogs, you will get fleas. And this group of women, Chrissie, Paris, Christelyn, Cyn G, to an extent cerebral, a lot of these women, they are bitter. They have that typical trait of institutional disrespect and contempt for the black man. And that's why they came together on this the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of trip. It's not because, you know, they actually believe what they are saying and that they can all harmoniously gel with one message, because obviously Cynthia G does not, you know, support interracial dating, whereas Christelyn is married to a white man. Paris and Chrissie, they promote interracial dating, but, you know, allegedly are in relationships with black men. So it becomes very confusing as to what the goal of these women is. And this is an issue I have with a lot of platforms on social media, whether it's black men or black women. What is the aim and the goal? Now, for Chrissie, what I would say is, unfortunately, this serves you right. Again, when it comes on to these four women in particular, they got carried away in the clout. They got carried away in the hype. You know, they made some videos. It got a lot of attention. They gained a lot of subscribers. They probably made a lot of money, and they realized, I've hit the jackpot when it comes to topics. And they allowed that success to cloud their judgment. They kept making video after video after video, basically poisoning. Now, Cynthia G actually recently did a video trying to address this. Is Cynthia G poisoning women against black men? And the simple answer is yes. Cynthia G, yes, you are. And the reason why is because you never actually get to the root of any of the problems in the black community, where the black woman has to stand alone 100% accountable for her actions. I'm not saying that black men are exempt or that black men are perfect or that some of the behaviors that black women exhibit is completely isolated from the black man. This is why I always talk about the black woman, and in particular black mothers. Jada Smith recently came out and she did a piece about, you know, her brother being coddled while she was being pushed. And I'm going to get to that in a minute about this whole concept of the coddling of the black boy. Okay, but where Chrissie is concerned, you know, what is your goal? To disseminate information, to uplift black women, to give a narrative. And it's like, if you're not promoting accountability, which is not blame, it's about being responsible for what you can control so that you don't put yourself in positions that you later on regret, then constantly blaming black men for things does not help even the black women who are subscribed to you. And this is why Cynthia G is poison for the black community, because no matter what the conversation is, somehow it always gets twisted around into somehow the black man being, you know, effeminate, or the black man being substandard, or the black man not doing what he's supposed to do, as if the playing field is level. The culture in which men of other races are raised is very different to the culture in which the black man in the West is often raised. And as a result of that difference in upbringing, from the combative nature of the women to the domineering nature of the women, to a culture that actually elevates women above men and makes everybody beholden to the black woman, all of these things instill within the boys a culture that makes him weak and unable to perform. And this is why when you hear black women like Cynthia G complaining about the state of black men and never talking about how black women actually sabotage their own boys, I can't really take her seriously. And anybody who actually joins forces with Cynthia G has to be given the side eye from me. Now, I can't tell people what content to make on their channels. I cannot tell anybody what channel they have, they want to watch. Everybody is free to make and do what they want to do. I have the right not to watch it. But I'm not going to want to be in conjunction, or not that I'm in partnership particularly with many people, but I wouldn't want to be in support or affiliated with content creators who are regularly on her panels, regularly in her comment section, sending her money in her Patreon or whatever. I just cannot be part and parcel of that community, because as I said in previous videos, if I had 2 plates of food, one has 50% of stuff I don't really fancy to eat, and I've got another plate which is 99.9% everything I love, but there's just a good spoonful of poison in there, I know one is unsavory and one is deadly. And the narratives that come through a lot of these female platforms is deadly poison. Like I said, black men are not perfect, but they never want to go back to how black men got to be the way they are. If you are choosing to elevate certain cultures in the black community as the black woman, but you are picking cultures that are detrimental to black men, you are sending black men out on a kamikaze mission. Why? Because it is the nature of a man to desire to please women. He wants to do the things that will increase his chances of sexual access. So if you as a woman elevate standards for black men that are either unrealistic or detrimental, for example, he got to have a certain degree of swag. He got to have, one of these rappers recently said, I need a guy that's got how many bodies under his belt. I mean, really? Like, if you are a guy who actually decides I'm going to go and kill somebody in order to prove to this woman that I'm hard enough, and then you land yourself in jail, I don't know which one of the two of you is more stupid. Actually, I do know. It's you for following the woman who's saying something stupid that could actually ruin your whole life and send you to prison, and in certain states could probably just cause you to end up getting the death penalty. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But the things that men do in order to attract women is based on what women tell men they want and desire, and will increase the chances of them getting sexual access. Now, if you are getting with effeminate, weak, non-productive men, and then at the same time when you have sons, you are coddling those boys, you cannot be surprised that there is a generation of weak men. Okay, so I haven't watched the video on Jada Smith talking about this idea of why are mothers so hard on their own daughters. Part of it is going to be the mothers are living vicariously through their daughters. The way they perceive their childhood has shaped the way that they want to live out certain things through their own daughters' lives. Things they wish that they could have done and should have done. They want to try and drive those daughters to accomplish what they did not manage to accomplish. And in so doing, they also they basically want to take credit for that child being what that child will become, hopefully, in their mind. So if they wanted to be a dancer or a singer, they not only can have an opportunity to have a taste of that world through the child's success, they also get the bragging rights. Now, when it comes on to why do black women coddle their sons, a lot of these women will skirt around the issue. And the issue is, many of these black women know that they may never actually get a solid, decent guy. And so they know they need to lock that son down in order to be a makeshift husband. This is kind of like color purple role reversal, where you have mothers who are looking for various forms of male validation and support and some kind of sexual attention from their own sons. This is something a lot of black women don't want to talk about. They don't want to be lonely. Number two, by coddling and stifling your son's progress, you ensure that he will always be dependent upon you. This gives you a sense of being needed. It gives you a sense of validation and basically a reason to exist. We all have heard of the concept of empty nest syndrome. And I'm sure part of that syndrome is actually to do with the fact that once the children get to a certain age, and we're not talking about 18 or 21, we're talking about maybe 7 or 8, boys in particular need to spend more time with their father, which makes the role of the mother redundant. Now, if she has spent most of her whole life raising these children, feeding them, nurturing them, being the primary caregiver, she may feel a little bit redundant once the children stop needing her so much. And so by constantly crippling the son's personal development, she extends how long she's valuable in his life. The next thing is obviously going to be, the more you make the son guilty and feel beholden to his mother, the more chances are, if he becomes successful, he will financially support her. By continually making the son feel guilty, I've done this for you, I gave birth to you, I raised you, I sacrificed for you, you owe me. It means that, you know, when the son becomes of age, he's going to always feel like an allegiance and an obligation to his mother. So again, this is why you have mothers who try to come in between the son and his girlfriend. They try to sabotage relationships, or they stop the son from having a life. Or, you know, and this is another reason why many of these male celebrities, as soon as they become successful, one of the first things they feel obliged to do is buy their mother a house. Now, I can kind of understand, because if I came into a lot of money, my mother owns her property, but I would actually buy it off of her because it would make a great rental. And if she owned her property, or even if she didn't own her property, and I really came into a decent sum of money, I probably would buy her a house as well. So I'm not going to criticize them, but there's this huge culture of men and boys, once they come into a decent amount of money, they always have to bring it as some type of offering to their mothers. And it just speaks to the matriarchal framework of this community that keeps a lot of black men stagnant and beholden to the gynocracy. Okay, so the next point is, black women don't want another generation of black men who can fight back. By constantly crippling black men and exalting black women over black men, what ultimately happens is you've created a generation of passive, you know, and I don't want to use the word simps and cucks, but that's basically what it is. Men who voluntarily seek out oppressive and controlling women. They basically are generating a group of boys who will easily be controlled by the next generation of females. Whether this is consciously or unconsciously done, these women know that if I cripple my boys, if I stop them from being productive, independent, and masculine, it will be much easier for the next generation of women to control them. And so they feed these boys into an entire system of oppressive, controlling women. This is why I get so frustrated with a lot of these female YouTubers who won't hold black women accountable, because they know deep down that this is exactly what many of these women are doing. They're not oblivious to everything. Now, could they have been programmed to some degree? Yes. Could they have been, you know, lied to? Most definitely. A lot of black women subscribe to a lot of ideologies that completely undermine their own personal benefit. But at the same time, there is a nefarious, how can I say, a deliberate destruction or dismantling of the black man. It's like the black woman has to be elevated at the expense of the black man. And this is something that many of these female content creators refuse to acknowledge. Now, I'm not saying that colorism doesn't exist, or featureism, or texturism. Definitely in some places that is a huge problem. Even in the West Indies, between people of different islands, you have this conflict still to do with color and ethnic background. So are we saying that colorism doesn't exist? No. But in the West, in Europe, in the States, here in the UK, is colorism the biggest threat to the black woman's progress? The answer is no, because many concessions are made to help black women based on the fact that they are a double minority. The fact that they are black, the fact that they are female, the fact that females will actually support the feminist agenda, and they're more inclined to support the gay agenda. Why? Because a black or a woman, or a woman in general, is not necessarily threatened by lesbianism, because a lot of women, they either have had a girl crush, or they don't think anything much of it, okay? And when it comes on to gay men, the stereotypical gay man who's very flamboyant, who's girly, who likes to gossip, she sees him as another girlfriend. So she's not threatened or, worried about the gay man. Politically advancing certain agendas, women are very useful for this process. So the woman is not being oppressed at a rate of 1,000, the way that a lot of black men are. A lot of black men, even if they come from wealthy backgrounds and are well educated, face a lot of discrimination that keeps them out of certain opportunities. And again, a lot of these YouTubers, they do touch on it, but they don't touch on it to the extent of, we need to get behind our men. If we have our foot in the door, we need to open it up for other black men so that bit by bit we can take over. As black women seek to be their own demographic, this becomes very problematic, because you cannot keep a society going where you have the men fighting the women. Every group of women around the world has an issue for the most part with their men. The fact that black women have an issue with black men is not unique to black men. And I'm sick and tired of listening to these women online almost present this argument that everything is a bed of roses for every other ethnic group. This is why feminism is spreading so heavily around the world, because women are finally looking at the West saying, we want what they have. So these women want to be able to manage their birth control. They want to be able to sleep around, sleep with whoever they want to sleep with, choose their own spouses without their families being involved. They want to have children without having the men involved. Basically, all the dysfunctions that they see in the West, these women are desperate for. And yet you have people like Christelyn who almost try to insinuate that the relationship between men and women of other races is so perfect, when the reality is this: the women of other races are smart enough to understand exactly where their bread is buttered. They understand that for them to advance as a group, they have to be at least somewhat on board with their men. The reason why they're more likely, even though this is conjecture, this is some kind of erroneous thought process, that in every other group, the men just fly around on capes looking for their women who are in distress. This is so not the case. But let's just say that it is the case. The question has to be asked, why do these men feel so loyal to their own women, whereas black men allegedly are not? And the question is so easy to answer. It's because they get loyalty from their women. A lot of these women may have issues with their own men, but when it comes to fighting outside groups, these women understand the importance of sticking together with their men. You do not see other groups of women desperately seeking to be their own demographic the way you see black women thinking they can somehow separate from their men, but at the same time benefit from the benefits of traditional black men and also be respected by people outside of the black community. Let's just say, for argument's sake, the black woman is the least respected black person in the community, or the most disrespected individual around. People outside of the black community will not respect either the black woman or the black man when they see how divided we are. Now, I believe that it's a divide and conquer strategy, that it has been deliberately created between the black man and the black woman, this contention and this animosity. Okay, nobody is upset that black women are educated. Black men are not insecure or intimidated by the fact that black women are pursuing education and careers. The reason why black men complain about women who are educated is because they often have poor personal skills, they have poor relationship skills, and they want to compensate for the things that men actually want. Okay, Cyn G right now is on this huge mission to prove to the world the kind of white women that black men want. And when she makes these videos, it shows a clear lack of understanding of what men in general value. First and foremostly, yes, men do prioritize looks. They are visual. They want to be physically attracted to their women. But people who want long-term committed relationships are willing to drop the level of physical attractiveness in order to acquire other intangible beneficial attributes: a great personality, good homemaker skills, a woman who creates an environment of peace within the home. As just like women, men care about how people make them feel. And if a woman is not that attractive, a lot of people obsess over this concept of the 8, 9s and 10s. And I recently was having a discussion with a brother online about the concept of the dime. But everybody is supposed to understand that when it comes to committing your life to a long-term partner where you're intertwining your business, your money, you're going to rear kids together, you have to share a home together, you ultimately have to like and enjoy spending time with this person. And so physical attractiveness is going to wane. The novelty of that physical beauty is going to disappear. Who is the person underneath the pretty face? And so to make video after video allegedly exposing who black men date, it just makes you look petty and very ridiculous, because at the end of the day, everybody has to date based on character, not looks, because looks will always fade and looks can change. And so again, this is another example of how these women, they lead their subscribers down a wrong path. They lead their subscribers into erroneous thought processes. But I'm going to come back to that in a minute, because Christelyn recently said something equally ridiculous. Okay, to the outside community, black people cannot be respected. Okay, let's start with black women. People are not going to respect black women, partly because of this strange white man worship. The way that these black women hold white men up on a pedestal when they themselves know they're just like everybody else. White men, black men, Asian men, across the board, there's a lot of similarities, okay? So this kind of hero worship of white skin causes probably a lot of white people to lose respect for black women. The other thing is this: if black women spend all day criticizing black men, two things are going to happen. White men know that if we abuse or attack black women, it's unlikely that black men will come to their defense. Therefore, we can abuse black women and get away with it because B, there are no repercussions. And if somebody dragged your name through the mud, not just for days or years, but decades, you probably wouldn't want to run to their defense or protection either. This is one of the reasons why I have a huge problem with the protection argument. In a lot of instances, black men gain nothing from protecting random black women. Once again, this conversation is not dissected or categorized in a logical way. When it suits black women online, they group everyone and everything together. The person who is a random stranger to you is not owed as much protection or commitment as somebody in your family or your spouse or your kids. The reason why your spouse or your children deserve the highest degree of respect and protection is because they're supposed to be under your jurisdiction. They're supposed to be following your lead. They're supposed to be under your authority. And in following your lead, you are obligated to protect, to provide for them. This is where the disconnect comes in the narrative. The women want to get the benefits of traditional leadership, but they don't actually want to follow. And so when you hear these women complaining online about a lack of protection or being disrespected or these men not doing certain things, it goes back to this point about the women in other races. They understand the value of playing the game. If they want to win, they have to ensure their men win as well. It's only black women who seem to want to degrade their men, emasculate their men, feminize their men, completely coddle and in effect castrate their own men mentally and emotionally, but then are shocked when these men are not able to perform. They claim that they want men who can perform, but then they go out and date men who do not perform. This is where the contradiction comes in. And as for women being educated, again, nobody is upset that women want to be educated, but there really is no value to your education in a romantic relationship. For all of the women who will say, I don't understand why a man would be intimidated by a woman being educated, or any man who is critical of a woman working or making her own money, or whatever narrative you want to put there. My question to you is, What value does your education and your career bring to your relationship and your man? Now, many women will say, well, it's great that I have my own money. If I have my own money, I can contribute. I can pay bills. We have more money in the pot. But that poses a problem, because if you are now contributing as much as the man, you obviously don't necessarily feel the need to follow his leadership. And if you are contributing as much or more financially, that means you are the provider in the relationship. How can you then want to be provided for if you are the one who is bragging about being the bigger earner? So this is where the dilemma comes in, where women don't know how to leave work at work. They don't know how to leave masculine roles at work and come home and play the feminine, submissive, cooperative wife. They come home and they want to lead in their household the way they lead in their jobs. And this creates a lot of conflict, because there's nothing wrong with you being educated or having a career, interests and hobbies, as long as that is in consistency with the overall goal and plan of your family. But if your personal goals conflict with the overall goals of the family, this is where you get contention. And a lot of women want to have their cake and eat it too. So Christelyn made this statement that white men are raised differently. They have respect for women that it seems she's implying black men do not have for black women. But the question is, are black women respectable? What have black men seen growing up and have experienced in their youth that makes them look at black women as people they don't want to care for, they don't want to provide and protect for? And once again, we have to also ask ourselves, do black women prepare their sons to be husbands and fathers? Or do they prepare their sons to be perpetual children? If you become a man and you realize you have basically been betrayed by your own mother, that you've actually been sabotaged, your manhood and masculinity has been cut short because of the decisions of your own mother, that's not going to fill you with a desire to help her and serve her and to care for her. It's going to create a root of bitterness and resentment. And as you go out into the world as a man and you see women just like your mother in the community, it's going to cause you to have an adverse reaction to a lot of women because they carry the same negative traits. Recently, Fox Soul did a video talking about why black women are not likable, and this lack of accountability, this belligerent behavior, being overly aggressive, the lack of femininity, the unwillingness to be corrected, and the way black women often sabotage other people in the community are all reasons why they are not liked. And my question is, who are you trying to be liked by? Are you trying to be liked by white people and people outside of the community? Or are you trying to be liked by your own men? Because I feel as though in one instance, you would be willing to hear the criticisms, you would be willing to actually act. Whereas in another instance, i.e. how black men feel about black women, there's going to be more combat than there is going to be communication. So going back to Chrissie and this whole thing, I don't feel sorry for Chrissie. Chrissie got into a brood of vipers. She decided to get in the pit with people who also hate black men. And at the end of the day, they have no allegiance to anybody. So if she got stung by Cyn G, who said, casual things about her, unfortunately, that's the price you pay for throwing black men under the bus all the time. And as for Christelyn, Christelyn comes out with all kinds of things. I did watch one video and the lady was like, Cyn G has a bad habit of trying to affiliate herself with different YouTubers in order to boost her platform. The unfortunate problem with Christelyn is she doesn't know what she stands for. What does Christelyn actually want to teach and preach? I mean, you are a black woman who claims to be loved up with your white husband. He never seems to be supportive of the work that you do. You're always talking about black men. You're not really uplifting or edifying black women because you're constantly complaining about black men and the victimhood of the black woman. I mean, really and truly, you tried to jump on the whole mystical femininity bandwagon because a lot of black people love to be spiritual without being actually religious. And then at the same time, you're trying to join heads with YouTubers who are in complete opposition to you on some of the most fundamental things. Unfortunately, she tried it with the Veganator. She tried it from the Bae from School of Affluence. And recently, obviously, the debacle with Kevin Samuels, and how after she agreed to come on his show, she then decided not to show up, talking about how although he protected her and made her feel welcome, he gave her a wrench and everything, she decided she wasn't going on the show because at the end of the day, he speaks badly to black women. And it's like, what exactly are you about? Why don't you just go away, rebrand yourself, and come back with a clear mission statement about what you actually want to accomplish and be honest? Again, everybody's questioning why a woman who's loved up with a white man and has been for decades now is still banging on about black men. Oh, I forgot. It's because it's a good money spinner. Anyway, I won't even bother to bring Paris into the situation because we know Paris spends all day channeling the spirit of Chrissie. Whatever Chrissie puts out on the internet, Paris just gives it a slightly different flair, but it's pretty much the same story. And who else? The others, they're not even worth talking about. But what really hurt me is a lot of these YouTubers who are coming to the defense or trying to weigh on in this situation, even though I'm kind of doing the same thing. But it hurts me to see up and coming YouTube channels that are really trying to get involved in this online beef. Really and truly, Chrissie, Paris, Christelyn, Cyn G, these women are just bitter black male haters. And they make a lot of money selling victimhood and hatred of black men disguised as helping to black women because black people are emotional. When you get us worked up, we will open our wallets, we will go and click your videos, we will support your channels, and the whole time we're being sold poison that is completely sinking us. So I don't even know what else to say. All I know is I went online. You know, Cyn G needs to stop making out like she likes black men and she's trying to help dusties. If you want to help black men, let's focus on the black men who are actually doing positive things. Christelyn needs to figure out what her channel is about. Are you out here trying to give femininity tips? Are you a love and a relationship and dating coach? Are you here to just bash black men? Are you about mystical femininity? You know, if you're a pro-swirl person, why don't you show us some great pro-swirl videos about you and your wonderful white man? Chrissie, I don't feel sorry for you. You keep on bashing black men. You had a relationship with some of the guys in the manosphere. You used to run your content by them and adjust your message. You know the truth, they know the truth, but you still wanted to link up to share subscribers with Christelyn and Cyn G, and they bit you on the bottom. Paris is not in the picture. Cerebral, she is involved with Christelyn. I can't take any of these women seriously, and many of the YouTubers and subscribers that support these women, they want to come running to the defense of them when they're all enemies of the black community, including black women. Whew, now I've got that off my chest. I know the flying monkeys from these channels will come through. You are welcome. Let me know what you think in the comment section. You know, share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Like, dislike, subscribe, and share. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.